Now, last fall, probably a while ago before that, I was finding I was getting a little bored with Lightroom and Photoshop. Not sure why. Maybe I've just been using them for a long time. And there were things that I just wasn't relating to. Plus, there was that big subscription thing where you had to pay monthly, which I wasn't really crazy about. So I decided that I was going to try different programs, but I was really going to try them. I wasn't just going to use them for a short time. I was actually going to purchase programs and look at them over time and really use them. It's a very different perspective than if you're just trying it for a little bit of time. Now, that said, I'm not going to show you everything possible that I might have been able to use, because I picked a few that just seemed to really fit my needs. I did look at others. I did try some trial periods of some others just to kind of see what they were like, but they really didn't fit my needs. There were some things that I really needed. Now, one thing is I like having two monitors. I really like having two monitors. It has kind of become a basic part of my workflow. I like to keep the overall look at all the images on one monitor and then my work monitor on the other side where I'm processing. And a lot of programs do that. That's not really unusual, but it's a great feature. And nowadays monitors are cheap. Good monitors are cheap. So I highly recommend that if you haven't done that. So anyway, one of the things that for me was critical is I needed to have something like Lightroom that I could work pretty quickly and easily and not have to deal with a lot of the complexity of Photoshop. And yet I needed also something that I could work with like I worked Photoshop, where I did have the complexity, where I had this big control over certain layers, because there's certain work that I do there, and then there's certain work that I spend in Lightroom. Now, most of the time I was spending time in Lightroom. So I needed to find out what I could find that would be replacements that would do the job for me. So what were some of my results? Well, first, in the Lightroom area, I really like Alien Skin's exposure and also DxO Photolab. Now, I like both of them. If I were only going to do one or the other, that might be tough. And I do actually like kind of going back and forth between them. In the Photoshop area, I looked at two programs, Affinity Photo and Luminar. Now, both of them could easily substitute for Photoshop. Okay, first, there is exposure, and I'm using exposure 4 from Alien Skin. And this is a nice program. I like the way that it handles your importing. Importing images works very easily with it. You can add a lot of keywords, you can change the name of your pictures, you can do all kinds of things, and that works nicely. Now, this is not a catalog-based program. That's always been a little bit of a challenge with Lightroom, is because it's a catalog-based program, so you cannot just simply access pictures on your hard drive. You have to import them in and actually know that they're there. Now, on the other hand, with with exposure and also with Photolab, this program is actually looking at the files on your hard drive. So it's acting like a browser, and it does a nice job of that. In addition, it has some interesting way of processing. You have some general processing of some nice features there, which work pretty quickly and work nicely. And you also have some local controls that are using kind of a variation of layers, except that it's simplified. And I think that it works very nicely for those things as well. Now, Photolab is an interesting program, and I have to give you a little bit of background. I learned about its technology, what they're using now, the U-point technology, a long time ago from the Nik photo people. The Nik people did a great job of all the Nick software. But before they introduced something to the public, they had something called U-Point technology. And they were showing us when I was at Outdoor Photographer magazine and so forth, and how you could point on something and it would actually find that and look at that area and try to find things that were similar in a lot of different ways. And it was a cool way to go in and adjust individual areas very quickly and easily. And so when I found out that DxO's PhotoLab has the U-Point in it, because DxO actually purchased the Nick software from Google. Thank goodness. Now it's actually going to get good programs again. But what they did is they use this U-Point technology for local controls. And I just love it. You can do some really great adjustments to really tweak an image, make it really look good. The exposure doesn't work that way, so it's a little faster, a little simpler, although it doesn't have the same control. That's why I happen to like both of them. The import section and the whole, the library, the browser, and all of your images that are on your hard drive in PhotoLab, it does a nice job, but it doesn't have some of the features that I really like. It doesn't have much in the way of keywords, doesn't have much in the way of a lot of things. I mean, there are some things you can do with it that is helpful. So again, that's why having those two programs has been useful. Not saying that everybody's going to want to do that, but for me, it's been very helpful. Now, in the Photoshop area, Luminar is a really interesting program. Luminar does some nice things, and especially if you want to work quickly with some things you like, presets, a lot of great presets there. And you could also set up your interface differently. If you needed to do that, and because you wanted a really simplified work space, or you want a more complicated one, Luminar gives that to you. I happen to gravitate a little bit more toward Affinity Photo. There's just the way the controls are set up. It really works a lot like Photoshop. Now, Affinity Photo is very powerful, and it uses layers. It uses all the functions of Photoshop in ways that anybody that uses Photoshop will recognize this quickly. Now, there are some things that are changed slightly. I mean, there's some ways that are a little bit different, but they're just tweaks in the way you handle the controls. And a lot of it is just almost identical to Photoshop. But it's very, very powerful, not very expensive either. I mean, it's surprising for what you get for Affinity Photo. Amazing. But one of the things I've found that I've really discovered, there are actually things on Affinity Photo that I like better than what was on Photoshop. They actually do some things that I like that are pretty cool. I'm really liking Affinity Photo. Now, there's actually a program that I worked with. It's kind of cool. It doesn't kind of fit in any of these categories. And that's Photolemur. Now, I had never heard of this thing, and then I happened to get an email about it and had a special price for it. And I went, oh, okay, give it a try. What it does is it uses artificial intelligence to look at an image and process it very smartly. And it does actually a decent job. Now, it's not something I would use all the time, but I'm finding I do use it for a couple of reasons. One is if I want to do some images quickly and it will go through the processing, I don't have to think about it. Now, I don't have to use the entire processing it provides. You can adjust it a bit. Also, I found that I like it when I'm really struggling with an image. You know, sometimes you get an image that just, you can't figure out, okay, something's wrong here. Something's not quite going right. And Photolemur actually works pretty good to give me some ideas. I'll say, oh, that's what I should be doing. And it works pretty cool. So I really like that.